secondlanguage.club. Adoption. What is adoption? Do you know anyone who was adopted as a child? Do you know anyone who has adopted a child? What are some of the reasons people choose to adopt? What is the difference between domestic and international adoption? What are the views of adoption in your country? How would someone interested in adopting a child go about doing so? Where do children available for adoption come from? What happens to children that are not adopted? How do you go about adopting a child? Would you want to adopt a boy or a girl? Why? Do you think brothers and sisters should be separated in adoptions? Are adoptions common in your country? What are some organisations that help with adoptions? Should you tell the child that he or she was adopted? If so, at what age or when? Should adopted children have the right to know their biological parents? Should families with birth children also adopt? Is the real parent the birth parent or the adoptive parent? Should adoptions be between children and families of the same race and or culture? How or should the adoptive parents maintain the adopted child's cultural identity? In your country, are the legal rights of an adoptive child different from that of a birth child? What are the legal consequences of adopting a child from a different race or country? Why don't more people adopt children? What makes a family, genetics or environment? Do you support an open adopting policy where the birth parents can choose to be involved in the child's life? Do you support an open adoption policy where the birth parents can choose to be involved in the child's life? Do you believe there is discrimination within the adoption organisations? Do you think a person should be able to adopt a child of a different race? Should a gay or lesbian couple be allowed to adopt a child? Should there be an age restriction for the adoptive parents? Should a single man or woman be able to adopt a child? If you were to find out that you were adopted and not really from the country where you are a citizen, which nationality would you hope would be your true mother country? Why? When is the right time for a child to be told he/she was adopted? Do you think it is preferable to adopt or to use artificial reproduction technology? Would you agree to an open adoption or closed adoption? Why? What is an open adoption? Would you want to find your birth family? Why or why not? Should prospective parents in adoption cases be required to do a parenting course? Are there any chances when adopting a child? Are there any risks when adopting a child? Do you think biological parents should always have a right to keep their identity secret from the children they give up for adoption? Why or why not? Do you think people who have been adopted should always have the right to find out who their birth parents are? How would you feel if a child you had adopted wanted to search for his or her birth parents? Do you think that adopted children should feel especially loved and wanted? Should people be allowed to adopt children of a different race and or culture? What are some good points and bad points of this kind of adoption? How would you feel if you found out you were adopted? What would you do? Do you think it is preferable to adopt or to use artificial reproduction technology? Do you or is it preferable to adopt or to use artificial reproduction technology? If you had a choice, would you want to be adopted? Should people be allowed to adopt children of a different race and or culture? What are some good points and bad points of this kind of adoption? How would you feel if you found out you were adopted? What would you do?
الاشتراك للحصول على التحديثات.